Hey everyone, you are listening to the Purple People podcast live. It is like week number 2 of technical issues here at the podcast. You got Kyle West and Adam Carlson with you this week. We couldn't get Kyle Smith into the chat for some reason. We hope to have him back next week. We thank everyone who is stuck around with us in the chat. We are ready and excited to talk about Vikings football. I don't know how excited we are, Adam, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
You know, there were some things to be excited about during that game, but there were a lot of things that didn't quite have us jumping for joy.
Mm-hmm. There was definitely more positives than I think what people have been talking about. It's just that unfortunately right now the negative Blair Walsh, which we will talk about aplenty here in a little bit, is kind of overshadowing some of the positive steps that the team took.
Yeah, we have a lot to discuss. But I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time on it because let's be honest, we're going to try to stay positive. We are. So let's start out by introducing you to episode number 225 of the Purple People podcast. This one's titled Honolulu Blue because those Lions love their Honolulu blue and silver, and the Vikings definitely blew this game.
Mm-hmm. Already awesome comments in the chat. Fullback Linval. Linval Joseph, fullback, secret weapon on offense. I like it.
I do. I absolutely love it. I love when they used to do it with LaTroy, and I love it now. Get that big body back there, and when they use him as a decoy, they see this big, massive man coming in, and they just assume he's going to plow right through. It was fantastic. I loved it.
It was great, and Linval just kind of an interesting way of blocking someone the first time was just fall over on them and just pancake them on the field. But I mean, hey, it took him out of the equation, and that works too.
When you're that size, man, you can do that. Nice when it works out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into the quick hits. It's been a while, so some of these seem a little old by now. We got Norv Turner resigning as offensive coordinator and Pat Shurmur taking over the play calling duties. This seems like a long time ago now, but
it was like what, 8 days ago? A little over 8 days ago now.
And sorry,
time goes by quick.
I apologize for my bit of a cough. I must be coming down with something, but this change was something that Norv Turner saw necessary. He said that he felt he wasn't able to do what he could do to help this team go forward. And from what I understand, he already had laid the groundwork for the play calling for the game against Detroit. Shurmur took that game plan and executed it in a really unique way. So I'm kind of interested to talk about that a little bit later. Let's keep rolling, though.
Yeah, let's keep on going.
We got some transaction information. Taylor Heineke was activated to the 53-man roster, as you know. We at the Vikings are pretty excited about this young man. He's not an absolute star, but we do feel like he could be a very solid backup in the NFL and has potential to possibly be able to step in, win some games if needed, and which is going to be necessary with a guy like Shaun Hill on the roster when you don't know how long he's going to be able to hang around, and there isn't really a viable other quarterback option on the roster. Because let's be honest, right now we're looking at the Vikings moving forward with Sam Bradford next year. Teddy Bridgewater is a big question mark, and no matter how you look at it, we could have a situation where the Vikings have Taylor as the third or even second quarterback. So he's got to be valuable. He's got to make better decisions this offseason. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, by the way, Adam, I fixed the thing. It is now jumping between our webcams automatically. I have no idea what I did. I just clicked a bunch of times, and now it's working. Because technology. I like Taylor. I don't necessarily like carrying 3 quarterbacks right now, but I understand why the team's doing it. I think long-term, looking forward to next season, I think the team's going to keep 2. I'm sad to see Michael Pruitt. Michael Pruitt. I am sad to see him go on the team, though. I do like him. I wonder if they'll be able to sign him back to the practice squad or whatnot.
I'm not sure of his eligibility, but I do know that because of the non-football injury list, they had to bring Heineke up to the regular roster or release him. So I'm assuming that since Pruitt is injured, he'll likely clear waivers. And I am anticipating them cutting Heineke after this and having
Uh-oh.
him go through the waiver process and have him join the practice squad, and then Pruitt coming back on the main roster. I see this as being some sort of like necessary juggling that may have to happen. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Maybe they're done with Pruitt. They're tired of the injuries. They've got a lot of depth at tight end. It's possible that they are just saying goodbye to Pruitt, but they also could be having a little bit of fun with it, so who knows?
That was a very Rick Spielman series of events that you just described. Potential series of events. You could totally see that happening.
He thinks that's
we got
out. He does.
Yeah, we got an update on Teddy Bridgewater, Adam.
We do.
Before we get to Blair, let's get a positive out here. He is reportedly walking without crutches, which seems amazing considering the severity of his injury and what we were talking about just a few months ago. That goes to show you guys. You got to remember he's really young and he is in front of him. It's about him never playing in the NFL again. Of course, I don't know one way or the other, but I mean, I think this is a big positive takeaway is that he's so soon walking without crutches. I like this report.
Yeah, we're by no means doctors. We want Teddy Bridgewater to come back. We want him to be able to play at a high level. We like the kid. We like pretty much everything about him. And we want to see him play again. I think that part of that kind of positivity is what is making us be even more excited about major steps in his recovery, like losing the crutches.
Mm-hmm.
And even if he can't come back next year, if he's got to spend another year on IR, that's okay. Mm-hmm. He's a young enough quarterback. He's a smart enough quarterback. And doggone it, people like him.
Oh, that's a reference for you. For all you kids in the chat room.
But there's some other cool stuff going on in U.S. Bank Stadium. The Minnesota Vikings honored Hubert H. Humphrey with a huge photograph in U.S. Bank Stadium, and it's really cool to have his sort of, I don't want to say power, but he had a lot of clout in the community. There were a lot of ramblings about him being one of the major points in bringing a lot of pro sports to Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the old Metrodome was the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. So
no one called it that. All those no one really called it that very often, man. That was the full name, the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome.
It's true. It's very true. Mm-hmm. There was also some more good, fun stuff. Several Vikings players went and visited the Minneapolis Veterans Affairs healthcare system. This is something the team does every year. This year it was Alex Boone, Danielle Hunter, Blair Walsh, Cantrell Brothers, along with Vikings alumni Ricky Young, Dave Osborne, executive player, director, development, legal Les Pico, some cheerleaders, and Victor the Viking, of course. You can't have a get-together without Victor.
Of course.
But they all went to visit the veterans, raise some spirits, gain some awareness, all that kind of stuff. And I love seeing the team doing stuff like this. And it's usually the kind of stuff that gets brushed under the rug for more clickbaity stories. But as you know, on the Viking Age as well as the Pro People podcast, we like being positive.
We're going to write the 800th article about Blair. You can take a break from that every now and then. Other stuff does happen.
It's good to focus on the good sometimes. Mm-hmm. And speaking of the good, Ben Gosling, I don't think that's the correct pronunciation of his last name, and I apologize.
Adam, since when have we ever pronounced things correctly here on the show?
Hey, we get called out for it all the time. I think it's Gessling, but I'm not sure.
Adam Thielen.
Ben Gosling, maybe he's like Ryan Gosling. I don't know.
We don't want to go there. Let's just Ben G, who covers the team.
Yeah, he covers the team for ESPN.com. Anyway, he gave the Vikings a grade of a B for their first half of the season, and I can see that grade as a total considering their record, some of the things they've been able to accomplish despite all their problems. But you kind of gotta, in my opinion, you'd have to grade that down a little bit considering that the future isn't nearly as bright as the past looked.
Mm-hmm.
So I see a B as being possibly a little bit generous.
It is a little generous, but I mean, I think you also got to,
The
I
team's
don't know,
winning the NFC North right now.
perspective a little bit. We have only lost 3 games. I mean, I know it was against, yeah, shoulda, coulda, woulda, to quote Jim Mora, but hey, these are professional teams. Every team in the NFL is a professional team. Players are there for a reason. We should have beat Chicago. We should have beat Detroit. It happens. We are 5-3. We are leading the division, so it's not. We're not the Cleveland Browns here, folks.
No. People are loving our pronunciation in the chat, by the way. That's a pretty fun conversation going on in there. But that's all the quick hits that we mustered up for this week. There were probably a lot more that we missed, but feel free to share them over on our Facebook page. We'll be sure to chat with you about them. But we're going to get into talking about the game. This week, Minnesota Vikings took on the Detroit Lions, and the Vikings suffered their first loss ever at US Bank Stadium.
Wah, wah. That's sad.
To a division rival. And that's
I'm glad it was the. I mean, I'm glad it was the Lions and not the Packers. I would hate that stat. I would hate that stat.
I was kind of hoping it would be to just a team that doesn't really care. I mean, Cowboys fans would probably have a field day with it. Maybe Arizona, something like that. Don't get me wrong. I was hoping that the Vikings' undefeated streak at US Bank Stadium would go on forever,
just
but
continue.
Things are bound to happen. And to be honest, game couldn't have got much closer than it did during this one. The Lions needed overtime and a spectacular play by Golden Tate breaking some tackles to do a nice little, I won't say flip, but a weird flying roundhouse kick to the head to get in there in the end zone. Overall, though, the Vikings statistically played a pretty good game. The Vikings picked up 22 first downs compared to the Lions' 18. The Vikings also gained more yards, and yards per play were exactly the same. The Vikings outpassed while the Lions outrushed. It was the one Detroit turnover that made the difference that allowed Minnesota to get back in the game. Maybe it was a little bit of a momentum shift, but even though the Vikings weren't able to capitalize off the Chad Greenway interception, which was a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, that to me was a nice point for the defense to be able to come out and establish themselves a little more, which they shouldn't have to do. But I've been hearing a lot of rumblings lately from fans saying, oh, the defense isn't as good as they used to be. No, they're just giving up a play here and there. And let's be honest, it's too, some of the guys out there, they're backups. There's second and third string guys out there now because of injury. But when you've got established veterans like Harrison Smith, Anthony Barr, these guys missing tackles, that's when you start kind of going, this shouldn't be happening. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. Yeah, like I said, the Vikings had more first downs. The Vikings actually came real close on time of possession. If not for that overtime segment, the Vikings would have won the clock battle. When we go into the box score, we got some fun stuff going on. Ronnie Hillman, 7 carries for 30 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. He had one run for 14 yards, and he actually seemed like a very capable running back in the offense.
That was nice. It was nice when you can have someone like him that you have basically no expectations for. And that's harsh, but I think that's also fair coming from most Vikings fans that, this is a guy that we signed because Adrian got hurt. We're not expecting anything from him. So for him to come out there and look like a contributor to this team, yeah, that's a positive. That's a win, and I will definitely take that moving forward.
Oh, yeah, he was a depth signing.
For sure.
Jerick McKinnon is one that's starting to bother me a little bit. His 7 carries.
I think he's injured.
I know he's dealing with an injury, but if you got a guy that's injured and you've got 2 capable guys like Ronnie Hillman and Matt Asiata out there, that's when you take the time and let your guy heal up. You don't get him out there. To me, it just seemed kind of unnecessary. We got the one nice rushing touchdown from Red Ellison on that awkward tight end around sort of thing. I don't even know what it was, but
It worked. It could have been a fumble, and it could have been horrible, but thankfully it was in the end zone, and it counted as a touchdown. But hey, you know what? That doesn't matter because it goes down in the record books as a touchdown for Red Ellison, and that's all that matters.
While we're discussing it, the Vikings' rushing attack has been awful in the red zone, even trying to plow it in from the 1 yard line. So to figure out a run play to be able to run the ball in itself is just good.
Hey, gotta do it.
We'll absolutely take it. Sam Bradford.
I was watching.
Go ahead.
I was really quick. I was watching the Bills game, Monday Night Football last night. Awesome. This is a fun game. Out there for Buffalo, I was watching him making plays out there blocking and doing some other good things out on the ground. A couple times they fed him the ball, and I'm thinking, man, I like Zach Line, but I wish we could have kept Jerome Felton in Minnesota. I think he would be a big asset to this team right now without Adrian Peterson, and to have the way the line's playing, to have that extra up there up front would be really nice right about now.
Well, a lot of the time when you've got a player in a position where you think you can save some money or, maybe get younger at a position at some sort of benefit, getting rid of a veteran is a good idea, but there are also times when that absolutely backfires. And I won't say that Line's been an absolute bust as a fullback for the Vikings, because
he's not. He's done some really good things.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he has not been able to accomplish what Felton did when he was with Minnesota. And I understand Felton's desire to move on, and it is a bit of a mess, but the Vikings have a lot of good blockers out of the backfield, so hopefully they can get things all.
Hopefully they can. Out. We got the secret weapon, Joseph.
That's right. Who needs a fullback when you got a defensive tackle?
Yeah.
But Sam Bradford, 31 for 40, 273, a touchdown, and let's face it, for the Vikings,
a reception.
Good. He was only sacked twice.
And don't forget, Adam, he had one reception for 5 yards.
Yeah, I don't know why people make a big deal about that. Although I gotta admit, when he took that corner and ran with it, I was kind of impressed.
Not mobile, and for him to run 5 yards with it was really
I saw him
fun.
look, and he thought it was a big defensive tackle, and he's like, "Yeah, I can outrun that guy."
I only bring that stat up because I thought it was funny. I mean, it's a tip ball. I'm glad that it came down and he was able to catch it and turn it into a positive thing. Like there's no negativity in that other than the fact that it was a batted down pass.
Absolutely. Receivers is where we get to have some fun. Because Laquan Treadwell caught his first NFL pass, 15 yards for a first down, 1 target in the game. So when he got an opportunity, he made the most of it. I wrote it up on the Viking Age. I included the clip, and I like getting him more involved, and I like the fact that he was able to take advantage of the opportunity. But it will be time soon, and let's be honest. Whatever they're trying to do with Charles Johnson isn't working.
It's really not, and I really view Charles Johnson as a Norv Turner favorite. I mean, that's an easy connection to make from when Norv was in Cleveland. That's where Charles Johnson came from. With Norv Turner out, and if Charles Johnson, doesn't continue to, which is sad because he was playing at one time with a high level for Minnesota, but he's not anymore. So what have you done for me lately? Not much. Let's see more Laquan Treadwell. I think that's a fair trade-off.
And I like Charles Johnson. I don't think that the role they're using him in plays best to his strengths. He's better with the shorter drag, slant kind of things, getting open. He's never really been a contested catch kind of guy, although he can make those plays once in a while. A guy that has been making some pretty great contested catches and unbelievable snags is Adam Thielen, who earned my game ball this week. This guy, I don't know where they found him or what is motivating him, but I love watching him play. And if you throw the football in his direction, get it into his hands, or if he's on special teams, he has a nose for the football. He will find a way to get it. Adam Thielen has stepped up in a big way and will continue to be a big part of this Vikings offense for many years.
One quick point I wanted to make on Charles Johnson is this is another thing that we were talking about. The repercussions of Teddy going down are going to be felt throughout the team and the players on the team for years to come. And Charles Johnson was one of those guys who had really good rapport with Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
And maybe it's as simple as he just doesn't work as well with Sam Bradford and Charles Johnson. That's not knocking Sam Bradford. It's football. It is the way it is. Certain quarterbacks get good rapport with certain players and not as well with others. So that's something, like I said, it's like that's kind of like the thread that's weaving through the Viking season for this year and next year, and maybe even further on down the line as well too. I gave my game ball, Adam, to segue back to that, to Sam Bradford, who I felt played a good game for the Minnesota Vikings. He was able to spread the ball around to a number of targets. We had everyone from Diggs, Thielen, Patterson, Hillman, Treadwell, Asiata, Johnson. Bradford had one pass. Red Ellison, Kyle Rudolph. That is a large number of targets that he's getting the ball to. I like that. That's how this team is going to succeed, is to spread it out. We mentioned his stats earlier.
Yep. Quick drop.
He was able to.
He was impressive.
And I think he did a good job as well, too, of moving around in the pocket. We know that he is not.
He is not one of those guys. You go on. He isn't. He will stand in the pocket and deliver. He is not one of those guys that's going to be mobile. He's not going to move around. And he rarely even steps up in the pocket. He'll step up to throw, but he very rarely moves up the pocket. And a lot of his success in this game might have come from different schemes of the offensive line, but also it's that clock in his head, knowing where and when to get rid of the ball. And Bradford played a good game. Good choice.
And it's funny not to keep talking about Teddy and comparing the two quarterbacks, but, when you looked at the list of attributes for Teddy Bridgewater, you wouldn't, he scrambles like Russell Wilson, because he doesn't, and that's not his game. But Teddy was always more athletic than what people want to give him credit for, and he was really good about moving around in the pocket, whether it being stepping up or using that sneaky speed that Teddy had to, maybe scramble a little bit and go left or right and to give himself enough time to find an open target down the field. That, Bradford, he doesn't do that. And it's interesting that for all the things that you would say that the team misses about Teddy Bridgewater, I really do think that you miss his ability to extend plays with his natural athleticism. Injury doesn't hurt that. Like, I hope that he's able to come back and continue to play at the level that what he was at before.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But there is no doubt who Sam Bradford's two favorite targets were in this game. Cordero Patterson saw 8 balls thrown his way, caught 6 of them, and Stephon Diggs caught 13 of the 14 passes thrown his way.
80 yards.
Diggs has been an absolute machine.
Yes.
There is no
the only complaint you could have
targeting Diggs.
The only complaint that you could have out of all of that is that they need to find the end zone more often.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But otherwise,
Cordero Patterson almost had that one touchdown catch.
Oh,
it was really high though, and he might have been able to corral it in with a little bit more focus. That to me that was a drop that happens.
It is one that happens. I would have liked to say, because I'm not the one doing it, but I would have liked to have seen Cordero kind of like, lay out and dive out for it a little bit more than what he did. But that's just a minor gripe. I'm really liking what Cordero is doing this season. You go back and you listen to some of the old podcasts.
We tore him a new one.
We ripped him a new one consistently.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we all thought that he's on this team for kick returns and like emergency punt returns, and that's it. None of us were expecting him to. Yeah, I don't think any of us expected him to factor into the offense, and I like the way he's doing it. And it's whatever's got him motivated. Not saying that he wasn't motivated before, but I hope this continues, and I hope it's a continued upward trend for Cordero Patterson.
Yeah, he seems to have a completely different work ethic and attitude, which is awesome. After the game, Patterson went on his own Twitter account and he was like, my bad, I'm sorry. And, you know, on the Viking Age account, I responded to him. I said, hey, don't let that one play, define your career or your game or anything, And he gave it a big old heart. And I think that's cool.
That's always nice. It's always nice when a player will acknowledge that they read something positive that you said. I like that. Because you like to think that helps, because they get a lot of negativity thrown their way. And so to be able to send up, a positive, reinforced statement, no, fans got your back, we got you, like that. I think that helps.
Before we get into talking about the defense, let's talk about our unanimous donkey for the week.
We got to do it. Blair Walsh.
Blair Walsh has been missing far too many extra points. He is last in the league when it comes to extra point accuracy, considering he is one of the top 5 paid kickers in the NFL, and he's under contract with the Vikings through 2019.
Ooh.
There is something that needs to be done, and it starts with crossing your fingers that Blair Walsh improves. If not, you're going to be eating some dead cap money and looking for a new guy to kick footballs. And speaking of that, we were talking earlier about the team bringing in some kickers.
Mm-hmm.
And if that was done to motivate Blair Walsh, I don't know. But it also could have...
Hell of a way to motivate someone.
Well, some people will look at that.
Some people need that.
And be like, yeah. There are people that can take my job, because during the preseason and off-season, last year, Blair Walsh had struggles as well, and the team did not bring in any competition for him.
Mm-hmm.
And now maybe that fire's there. I don't know. Maybe it'll frustrate him even more. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But all I know is that we need to see something better from the kicker, and if it can't be Blair Walsh, it's got to be somebody. And I want it to be Walsh. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't keep going.
He has all the talent.
Yeah, we know he can.
He has all of the talent.
With all the franchise records he set as a rookie. That he has the talent and ability. There's just something wrong, and I don't know what it is.
He looks... It's mental, Adam, because when you watch him on the field, when he's coming out, he looks like he's overthinking what's going on the field, and he looks visibly shaken, like he doesn't believe in himself anymore. And I don't know what you do to light that fire underneath him and to make him... I've seen him in training camp hit, exaggerating. It was like a 70-yard field goal where they did in practice. So he just kept moving him back. And he kept hitting it, and he's not missing, and he's going through, and this kid has such a potential. But right now, for whatever reason, it's just not clicking. And I know that there's you lose games for multiple reasons.
Right.
You can never pin it on a single player. But in some instances, you really can go, that missed extra point cost us this game. And it made a big difference, and it cost us this game. You look at the blocked field goal, and you go, well, of course there had to be more than just one thing. But still...
The kick was extremely low. It looked like it was going to go very far left. And even though we won't have an opportunity to know if it would have missed or not.
These are all just...
That it was blocked because it was so low was just rough. And
these are things that start to compound on one another. And I was listening to a video on... I forget where it was. I think ESPN 1500, I think. And they brought up a good point of that Anderson missed that field goal for the Vikings. He was a veteran. He had been with the team for a long time, been in the NFL for a long time. And he was able to kind of overcome that and stick around with the team afterward and continue to be a reliable field goal kicker for the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah. Blair Walsh, on the other hand, even though a veteran of the team, he's a young player and a young guy, and does not have the body of experience that a Gary Anderson did. So missing that field goal and I'm talking about the one with the Seattle game at the end of the last season, was enough to just kind of permanently ruin his confidence with the Minnesota Vikings.
And don't forget, we also had the kickoff through the back of the end zone that was a bit of a gaffe as well.
Mm-hmm.
We do have some comments in the chat. We got XKT here saying if Walsh got that kickoff and missed, would he still be with the Vikes missing an extra point and a chip shot field goal? I don't know. Good question. Eric Grendall has a really, really great statement here. He says he always has love for CP84. He's just having fun this year. Great to see. It's helping his confidence and showing with his play on special teams and offense. Can't wait for the first kick return touchdown. And I want to praise Cordero Patterson about something that I just absolutely loved, that I was cheering him on in a big way during the game. I saw him as a willing and capable blocker in the run game. And I mean, like, enthusiastic. Yeah. He was running and he was smashing guys backwards. Mm-hmm. And I would say probably 2 years ago, you would not have seen that.
He wouldn't do that.
No.
No.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting rewarded for this new attitude and new play, and I think that he is absolutely loving it.
These are the kind of players that Mike Zimmer gravitates towards as well, too, as ones that...
It's weird seeing a player make that transition, though. I mean, just right before your eyes. I don't want to say that he was a prima donna of any kind, but he didn't quite have... He wasn't a grinder, it seemed.
Well, and a little bit, too, is that, Mike Zimmer has really brought a different attitude around this team. And I'm talking about, like, this organization, okay? Because you go back to, you call, Cordero a bit of a prima donna. Well, look at how the Vikings treated him when he was brought in a little bit. As like, Cordero's come in, he hasn't really done anything for the team, and him up on big banners and posters at training camp. They're giving him Google, the fancy Google glasses where he comes in. They're doing video features. They're treating him like a superstar stud. We even did it here. We'll call us out on the podcast as well, too. We anointed Cordero Patterson as the offense when Adrian Peterson... We're like, well, that's it. This is Cordero Patterson's team. So we did it too. Yeah. Mike Zimmer was, I think, able to take him down, not just a peg, but like 10 pegs, and be like, reality of this is you're not getting re-signed to a contract extension, and you have to work to, earn your playing time on this field. And we're seeing him go out there and do that and earn it and have fun doing so. And he's getting success, and that's what I like to see.
Not getting that fifth-year option on the contract, I think, has a lot more to do with this, too.
Mm-hmm.
That, I believe, is another reason the fire has been just absolutely lit.
Yeah.
Jeff Locke, he had a disappointing game overall, but he's been consistently pretty good this season, so... crap happens.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about defense, and the leading tacklers this game, all tied with 7. Griffin, Smith, Rhodes. You've got the usual stars of this game. Terrence Newman had a great game statistically as well.
Yeah, he was making some plays. Terrence, man, he... And you can even say he's lost a little bit of a step in certain times out in coverage where you look like, oh, yeah, like he's getting like younger guys faster than older guy. Duh, that happens. But man, oh man, when they're bringing him up around the line where he can blitz or he can make some tackles, he's still got it. Like he's still playing it at a good level for the Vikings.
The Vikings were only able to get 1 sack in this game.
That's disappointing.
But they did hit Stafford 4 times.
They did. Did you notice, Adam, a little bit of a decline in play when Captain Mutterland left the field for the team?
Absolutely, and I would say so. Mike Zimmer talked about as well. He said that Captain was his man there, and when he had to shift things around, that it wasn't quite the same. And
Yeah, you could notice
considering
it. I
Captain
noticed that.
Munderland spent last week with a little bit of a knee brace and some crutches after the game, and this week he was seen walking around with a walking boot. I'm not
Oh
very
boy.
sure about what's going on with Captain Munderland from here.
I know it's next man up for this team, and that's a great philosophy to have, and they've done a really good job with it. They've exceeded expectations with it. But at some point, you can only lose so many pieces on this team, and I really don't want to see Captain Munderland go. He doesn't get enough credit. We don't talk about him as much as much as he deserves, because frankly, he doesn't really get the opportunity to post the stats. But he's a grinder. He's definitely a grinder on this defense. And with him out, there was a definite who'd they stick in to replace him, Adam?
They shifted Terrence Newman over, then they put
the rookie
on the outside, and then they switched in Mackenzie Alexander.
Mackenzie Alexander, thank you. You could see he got picked on immediately when he was on the field. I think he gave up a touchdown pass almost immediately.
The pass interference in the end zone was the
pass interference. Yep.
And that was a play that in college he probably would have gotten away with.
This is why he was celebrating. You see him celebrating it?
Yeah.
He was celebrating
time with Trey Waynes and Xavier Rhodes to adjust them from the college game to the pro game. And this is why they weren't going to force Mackenzie Alexander into the lineup, because they had the veteran depth, they had the other play where they could bring these guys along slowly. And like I always say on Twitter, or on the Viking Age, I say, adjusting from the college game to the pro as a cornerback has to be one of the most difficult things in the NFL to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how it can even be a direct transition considering the different skill sets it takes.
Mm-hmm. Are we downplaying the importance of Munderland in the slot? No, I think both Adam and I.
We just covered that in a big way.
He's really super important in the slot for the team, and I don't want to see him get injured anymore. There was a comedy of errors in all phases, but taking a timeout with 27 seconds left proved costly.
Well, here's the situation there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, when you are the Vikings and you have an offense that's struggling as much in the red zone, you got to score and you got to take it when you can. Mm-hmm. Now comes the bad part. You've got Blair Walsh kicking off through the back of the end zone. That takes no time off the clock.
Which I don't think they wanted to do. I think in that situation, they were talking about kicking it short.
Right.
Not all the way out of the back of the end zone, so that you kill some time with either like a small return or whatnot.
Then the Vikings went in prevent, and they went prevent too deep, and allowed a pass deep enough in Prater's zone, and there was 2 seconds that were apparently put back on the clock for I'm not sure what reason that allowed them to get up and spike the ball.
Mm-hmm. We talk about how much I hate the prevent defense.
Oh,
I'd
be okay with it if they. Let's be honest. Prater is an excellent kicker. This guy, I believe at one time, if he still doesn't, he had the NFL record for the longest field goal in history.
I believe that's a tied stat. I think it's like multiple kickers have that.
At one time, he broke it. He was the man.
65. Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you know that you've got a kicker as great as him, and you're playing back far enough to where you could give him a shot at it, what's the point?
I know. And this defense has proved to be so well at disrupting quarterback play. Just generally making a mess of things. I don't really understand why you would, in that situation with 27 seconds left, be like, well, we're going to sit back in the prevent and we're not going to have any faith. Nah, I think you're paying Everson Griffin a large amount of money to get to Matthew Stafford. You're paying Linval Joseph a lot of money to disrupt that front.
And why do you touch him down right away?
Yeah, let your guys go to work. In that situation, man, I I'm not saying you go all out blitz and you pin your ears back and then you give up a potentially a big play, but you let your defense do what your defense does because they're pretty damn good at it.
Absolutely.
And I feel stupid for questioning Mike Zimmer because who am I to question Mike Zimmer? It's easy for us to say that and looking at the outcome of the game.
Well, we know what the intentions were, but the problem was it executed the way it was drawn up, and was it actually drawn up that way? As fans watching on TV, we can never know.
We don't know. We don't know what they were doing.
But we do know that field goal was put in a position to where it was a makeable kick, and that is what's frustrating. All right, so we gave away our Game Ball and Donkey Awards. And we gave some game stats here, so let's talk about the Survival League. We lost one more player in the Survival League, and I gotta be honest, I've got the prize package all wrapped up, ready to go. But I think we're going to have several more weeks because we still have people that have yet to get a strike.
Oh, hey, that's good. I like it coming down to the wire.
I got to admit, I got my first strike a couple weeks ago because I failed to make a pick for a week.
Adam!
I forgot. But otherwise, I'd be flawless too, but I forgot. Happens to the best of us. But I'm still in the game. I'm still rolling. I'm one of the remaining. Having some fun. And I'm thinking that if it lasts through a lot of the season, I've got some other pretty cool stuff I can send some people if we end up with multiple winners. So to everyone that joined the league, I'm really happy to have you there with us, and it's been fantastic and having some fun. This is a nice way for us to thank our listeners, and even though a lot of you guys don't play Survival League and just listen to us through YouTube or iTunes or wherever, we like to be able to give back when we can. So thank you guys, and this is for you. Also, we do have some more people coming to join me on the Viking Age, so there should be a lot more fresh content coming out soon. And that is always good stuff. Anytime you can facilitate some discussion on the Minnesota Vikings, I am going to give that a big thumbs up.
I'm looking at the next 4 games we got coming up, Adam.
Yep, the Washington Redskins next, going to the nation's capital. And they are not an awful team.
No, they're not. None of these teams coming up are a slouch, honestly. We got Washington, we got Arizona, we got Detroit again, and then we got Dallas.
Remember when the Vikings were like 4-0 or 5-0, and like Paul Allen was on Twitter saying, "I'm looking up and down the schedule, and
I don't see it. I don't see it. And I'm going, boy, these are 4 tough games coming up here. I mean, you can't sleep on any of these teams. No. You can't do it. Can't do it.
No, Dallas is a Super Bowl contender this year. The Redskins are more than capable, and I don't remember who the 2 teams are in the middle right now.
We got Jaguars coming up.
We can't lose to the Jaguars. We'll never hear the end of it. Do we still get hate mail from that Jaguars podcast?
No, not for a while now. I don't even know if that Jaguars podcast is still around.
Boy, did they
might have been traded to another team.
Oh no!
Aw, yeah, I went there.
I kind of miss having a rival though. That was fun for a little bit.
We should look them up.
We should
be like, hey,
see if they're still around.
Joint podcast.
Oh, they would hate us.
Jaguars
would definitely not be good.
Remember that time Jacksonville signed Toby Gerhart to a big contract?
Oh, so bad. So bad. But that is actually just about all I have for this week. I don't know if we have a social media question for the week because I don't do the Facebook for the group.
Yeah, we haven't thought of one yet. So if anyone thinks of anything, let us know.
We don't have one, and we don't have one to put up. Well, that's not good.
Yeah, I know, we've been slacking. We'll think of something. It probably won't involve chicken McNuggets. But
No, nobody wants to get a chicken nugget question.
You do, actually. It's really funny. You should ask Adam. You should tweet Adam Carlson.
No, don't tweet me.
Ask him. You should do it.
No,
that
should not.
He wants
happen.
to answer it. He wants to answer it, folks.
But let's see. Kyle Smith bold
So-
prediction. I'll make one up for him. Kirk Cousins is sacked 4 times in this game.
Yeah, that sounds like a Kyle Smith bold prediction.
Yeah, I'll make one up for him. There it is.
Yeah.
See, it's kind of bold, but it's somewhat realistic
But-
too. I like it. I think we can roll with that.
I think so too.
So next week we'll be back to discuss the game against the Washington Redskins from the nation's capital. And I'm not going to be one of those PC guys that just says Washington and ignores the team name, because that's what they're called. Which sports organization is it that just calls them Washington? Is that ESPN?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh yeah, I think there's a couple different big name sites that refuse to call them the Redskins.
Huh.
And you know, my dad's a tribal member. I live on an Indian reservation. Nobody here has a problem with it.
Okay.
It's just a lot of. I understand how some tribes might have issues with it that live down in that area or something, but I have yet to meet any real person that takes objection to that. And I remember that we had.
I've seen one protester
went to the Vikings and Redskins game.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah,
there were a
protesters all over.
Couple protesters that were out there.
Yeah.
Everyone just looked at him and was like, "Huh," and then just went back to tailgating. I don't know if that's necessarily the best time to make your point, because nobody gives a shit.
No, not really. But otherwise, do you have anything else you want to add this week?
Hopefully next week's show we can get all 3 of us on and we can start on time and there won't be any technical issues, and we will be talking about a Minnesota Vikings win.
But the good thing is that we had the issues from last week cleared up. We're all good this week on that front.
Yeah,
we
took care of that shit. We do what we can.
It's always
with the Purple
something.
People podcast. It is.
It's always something. But I want to thank you guys for listening, and for those of you who came and joined us for the chat, we're sorry that we were late, and we're going to try really hard to be on time here in the future. But make sure to head on over to the Viking Age, click on some of my articles, leave some comments. If you love
Undead
Walking
Walking.
Dead, oh man, I just had one of the craziest theories I've ever had for why the last episode was the way it was, and if you like The Walking Dead, I could use some clicks on my articles and some comments because I want some people to talk about this. Because
you can find out about that song that they played.
Oh yeah, well, which one?
That's what everyone's.
That's
what everyone's talking. No, the other song, Adam.
Oh no, nobody wants to hear that song. I actually set that as my alarm clock ringtone. But it's kind of cool. The Viking Age is growing. We just had one of our first celebrity follows.
Here we go. Walsh breaking down like Daryl.
Awesome. Locks him in there. Just feed him some dog food sandwiches. There we go. I like it.
Oh, if someone's good at Photoshop, please Photoshop that. I want to see Mike Zimmer throwing dog food and Blair Walsh in the closet. Come on. That's great. That's great stuff.
Showing him the photo of the Miss getting the playoffs.
Oh, just Blair lying with a pile of puke in front of purple puke.
Why are we hurting ourselves like this?
Oh, that was funny. I don't care.
We find joy in the pain.
We do. You gotta laugh. Hey guys.
This is what Vikings fans have done for years.
This is a little mini rant to close out the show. The big Facebook groups, and I know we all love the Vikings. We take it seriously. We take the podcast serious too, but it is entertainment. It is sports. You have to be able to laugh at this. Like, it's not like you can. We were at the point where everyone typing in all caps locks about Blair Walsh is like, we get it. We get it. That's not the most important part of my day.
No, and don't send him death threats and stuff like that. Come on, I'd be better than that. It's a game. And don't get me wrong, I'd love to see the Vikings win a championship. And if you listen to the first episode of the show, you know why I want that to happen. And
although we're not suggesting that you listen to the first episode of the podcast, it's probably terrible.
we need to do a digital remaster of that.
HD, 4K, Purple People Podcast 4K.
We definitely don't need 4K. We need to lower the resolution. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, a little bit.
But we're going way off on a tangent here, so let's call this a quit here. I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and remember to stay classy, Minnesota.